Welcome back. We are currently in the middle of the third loop of the third arc. Links in the description if you need a reminder of what's going on right now. Subaru and Rem are on their way back to the mansion, so let's pick up the story and see what happens. On the way back, they find Otto and a bunch of merchants. Subaru gets an idea. He says he'll buy all of their stuff and pay them a transportation fee if they'll help transport people in the village. The caravan sets out, and Otto says they should be there by morning. They can see Flugel's tree, so they aren't far. There's a lot of theories that involve Flugel, and just about any information we get about him is going to be important. But right now, all we get is that a long time ago he planted a tree, and now it's so massive that it's a landmark for anyone traveling along this route. The anime cuts out a lot here, but it's mostly not important. About 10 merchants are going to help, and while they're getting everything ready, they actually elect Otto to kind of be the negotiator for them. And so he starts asking Subaru questions, basically like why they're doing it, what they should be expecting, all that fun stuff. And the anime pretty much just has Subaru tell everybody all at once in like 2 minutes. There is one scene in the light novel that is cut from the anime, and it is very sad for Subaru. This entire time, he has felt like he only has one ally, Rem. So on the way back, he is feeling paranoid from all the shit that's been happening, and he asks her if she is okay with everything that he's been doing. Since he feels like she is his only real ally, he is deathly afraid of her answer. If she doesn't trust him or if she doubts him, it could be the last straw on his mental state. And she says that Roswell told her to do whatever Subaru wanted. Subaru wanted to hear that she trusts him, and instead she says that she is just doing what she's told. It's really easy to look at the last loop and see that she is going above and beyond that. But Subaru is struggling with abandonment issues right now, and Rem kind of just played into it, even if she wasn't intending to. And now Subaru is truly feeling alone. Rem needs to see the map, so Subaru gets it out, but it's too dark to see. He remembers his phone is in his bag. He hasn't used it since the first day, and he's had it off, so it's possible that there's some battery life left. He turns it on and uses it as a flashlight. Otto and another merchant are curious about the device, but Subaru says it's lost technology or future technology. He can't give out any info. Once Rem is done looking at the map, Subaru puts the phone in his pocket and notices that the merchant beside him is no longer there. Looking around, he doesn't see him at all. He asks Otto about it, but Otto doesn't understand. There was no one there before. Subaru turns his phone flashlight on again to look around. He points it toward the space the other merchant had been and is met by a giant eye. Unable to keep calm, Subaru yells, causing the creature to shoot upward. The wind it created sends everything flying, and mist fills the entire area. It's the white whale. Why was it here? According to the first loop, it shouldn't be here until the next day. Subaru realizes his mistake. The white whale arrived on the second night, but the road wasn't locked down until the next day. Subaru and Rem jump into Otto's wagon as theirs is destroyed. With the whale still following, Rem decides to sacrifice herself so that they can escape. Subaru grabs her and doesn't let her go. He can't let her go, or he will lose her. Rem enjoys the hug for a second, then knocks out Subaru. He isn't out for long. When he wakes up, Otto tells him that Rem left to try and slow it down, so they need to escape while they still can. Turn around, we have to save her, Subaru demands, but Otto refuses. No one is helping him. The merchants run off. Otto refuses to save Rem. Everyone is useless. Otto cuts off his anger. You still don't understand. Lagunica tried to send out an army against it before, and it killed the last Sword Saint. Reinhardt pops into his mind. If the last Sword Saint was anywhere near as strong, and this beast killed them, then there's nothing that he would ever be able to do to stop it. I'm weak, and so are you, so there's nothing that we can do to save that girl. A few moments pass as they sit in silence. For now, we're fortunate to have escaped. Fortunate? Subaru's anger wells up. We were fortunate? You must be joking. Do you know how Rem felt when she... Who's Rem? It takes a second for Subaru to catch what was said. Before he says another word, he punches Otto in the face, causing the dragon to freak out and the wagon to shake. Subaru won't let Rem be dismissed so flippantly, but Otto genuinely doesn't understand what's going on. The whale shows up again, cutting off their argument. It's persistent, almost as if it's tracking them. That's when Subaru realizes the white whale is a witch beast, and just like all the others, it's attracted to his scent. Hearing this, Otto pushes Subaru off the wagon. If it's tracking Subaru, then Subaru's death would save him. Subaru bounces off the ground and rolls to a stop. This is it. It would be better for him to die. But even in this situation, only one thought repeats in his head. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. He lies on the ground, waiting for the end. But the end never comes. The air clears, and he is alone. After walking for a bit, an earth dragon approaches. It's Otto's dragon, but he isn't there. Cross-shaped knives and blood tell the story of his absence. Subaru takes the ride and heads off, not knowing where he's going, just hoping to find someone. After a while, the dragon suddenly stops, and he hears a voice. The kids from the village pile into the carriage, happy to see Subaru. He made it in time. Relieved, he passes out. Okay, there's really only one real difference, and it's not that much of one. When Rem jumps off and Subaru wakes up, they meet another merchant. That's when Otto forgets about Rem, and Subaru and Otto have their fight, and the other merchant is just like, what the fuck, guys? And then the whale comes in and eats the other merchant, like the dragon, the carriage, the guy, like, just eats all of them whole, just swoops in and grabs all of them at once. And that is what stops Otto and Subaru from fighting. In the anime, the whale just kind of shows up and is just there, and they see it and stop fighting. Okay, we need to talk about how absolutely terrifying this would be. The first time I watched this, I knew it was scary, but the more you think about it, the worse it is. This is a giant fucking whale that is swimming through the air, and it is faster than the land dragons. Remember at the beginning of the arc, Subaru estimates that the dragons can run at like 60 miles an hour while pulling the cart. And this fucking whale is passing them. Can you imagine the giant fucking whale just flying by at like 80 miles an hour? Jesus fuck. On top of that, it is silent. It was able to get right beside them without them even noticing it. So it hunts at night, and it's hard to see it when there's no lights out in the plains. It can move silently without anyone hearing it, and it can outrun anything it sets its sights on. And for good measure, it can create mist that it can hide in to make it even harder to track. There is good reason that everyone is afraid of it. After the failed attempt of the last Sword Saint, nobody wants to fuck with it. Well, okay, maybe not nobody, but that'll come up a little later. Oh, and the light novel made sure to point out that Subaru pissed himself when he got pushed off the wagon and was waiting for the white whale to kill him. I don't know why you would need to know that, but the light novel sure wanted you to know that. He wakes up in the mansion with Rem beside him. He starts to cry as he tells her that Rem gave her life to save his. Rem simply looks at him and asks, "Who is Rem?" Subaru is confused. "Rem is your sister." But Rem denies that she has a sister. He tries to prove it to her. "What would you call that whole mess in the forest? You, Rem, and I fought those witch beasts. I hate to admit it, but you were half responsible for their eradication. Roswell and I handled the rest. The long-lost sister you call Rem has no place in it." Confused and angry, Subaru gets up, despite Rem's protest. They make their way up the stairs, to a room on the second floor. Subaru bursts open the door to find what he thought was Rem's bedroom, but it looks the exact same as all the other rooms. Rem never overly decorated her room, but there still should be something there. The lack of evidence of her existence was overwhelming. Eventually, Rem tells him that he needs to rest, and she goes back to her job. For a moment, he thinks about running away, but remembering Rem causes him to stop. After everything Rem has done for him, he can't run. With his determination renewed, he goes to Emilia's room instead. He opens the door to find Emilia sitting at a table. Subaru, why? Why did you come back? Her voice full of sadness. Subaru ignores her question. Let's go, we can't stay here. Before saying anything else, Subaru tries to get her to leave, but she won't, and Subaru won't explain. He raises his voice and grabs her by the arm. What happened to you? You weren't this kind of person before. Subaru continues to ignore her and starts to rant. Just be quiet and do as I say, then everything will work out. Why doesn't anyone understand? Emilia wants to trust him, but he hasn't given her a reason to. If anything, he's giving reasons not to be trusted. She won't go with him. It won't work out. You won't work. You'll fail. You can't do it. It's no use. You're all talk. You can't save anyone or be saved. You'll keep acting rashly and unreasonably until you see as many corpses as the number of your reckless decisions. That's your future. He's saying these words to Emilia, but it very much comes off as projection. And honestly, I think Subaru even realizes he's talking to himself more than he's talking to her. He brings up Rem at some point, and Emilia doesn't remember her either. This has to be the most confusing conversation that Emilia has had in a good while. Subaru shows up, unconscious and bleeding everywhere, just like the first night that he got there. And after he wakes up, he demands that they leave while he's yelling at himself and crying and talking about someone that doesn't exist. And Emilia doesn't know how to handle this conversation. And honestly, I don't blame her. Also, Subaru's actions here make no sense at all. Like, what was he expecting? I get Subaru's not thinking right now, and that's a problem of his, but he could at least have told her that they were going to get attacked. I mean, he's had no problem telling fucking everyone else that, so why not tell her too? I don't know. Subaru is just really fucking stupid sometimes. Most of the time. Subaru decides that enough is enough. He'll tell Emilia everything, no matter the cost. I can return by death. He starts to tell her, and time stops once again. The black mist hands come out as Subaru braces himself. The left hand rubs his cheek while the right one goes straight for his heart. It gently caresses his heart, but never grabs it, taunting Subaru with pain that would never come. The hands retreat, and time returns, leaving him confused. What happened? Why wasn't he punished? Emilia suddenly falls over. Subaru catches her, only to see blood coming from her mouth, and her eyes are now lifeless. The left hand must have attacked Emilia while the right one went for Subaru. Instead of simply causing pain, the hand completely crushed her heart. The one he wanted to save is now dead in his arms, and it was his decision that caused her death. He stayed there for hours, not moving. Emilia's body has gone cold. Beatrice comes in and checks the stone on Emilia's necklace, Huck's resting place. As she touches it, it shatters. Don't worry, I suppose. Bubby won't die. He just returned to his original form for now. Subaru looks up at her and pleads, "Please, kill me." You would ask me to kill you? I suppose that's far too cruel. Everything starts to distort as she opens up a portal. Your staying here is a problem. At the very least, I will protect the mansion. Betty is not like Roswell. I don't care if it would secure me a future. Pain, suffering, fear. I suppose I've had enough of it all. Subaru is sucked into the portal. If you're going to die, could you do it someplace where Betty will not see it? The portal closes at the mansion, and Subaru falls out of the connecting portal into the forest, still holding Emilia's corpse. There's not much difference here except for Beatrice. She says about the same thing in both versions, but the anime kind of has her come off as cold. She says everything matter of fact and doesn't really show emotion until the last statement. In the light novel, she is visibly upset as soon as Subaru asks her to kill him. And I don't think either version is wrong. I mean, it's Beatrice. Like, she could be cold or she could be very upset. But so while I don't have a problem with the anime, I do like the light novel version better. I think it kind of shows her character a little more for her to show those emotions whenever she's upset at him. Beatrice says that Puck returned to his true form, and in the light novel, she is a little more clear and says that he returned to his true body and will be there soon, which is interesting. That makes it seem like Puck isn't actually in the crystal that Amelia had, that he's just somewhere else but manifesting through the crystal. Or maybe he's hibernating and his mind is in the crystal. I don't know. This may be important later, so I'll just keep it in mind. The witch cult appears out of the forest. Beetlegeese steps forward. Kind of small difference here. The anime just has the witch cult show up out of the woods, and the light novel actually has him get up and go to the cave that he knows that they're in. And I'm pretty sure the anime just cut it for time. This does show that he knows where the cave is, but it doesn't really mean a whole lot right now. They could very easily show this later, which they do in the anime. It is a little weird that Subaru went to go find them, but I think he is just looking to die. He is just done with all of this shit. Beatrice refused to do it, and he really doesn't know where else to go, so he went and found the witch cult. How diligent you are. Before we can even act, you took the half-devil's life, in the ordeal's name. Still, unable to overcome even one ordeal, much less confront one of the sins, and after all that waiting, she trips over the first pebble in her path. Now, what can I do for you? Kill me. For a second, Subaru thought he would get the same answer that Beatrice gave, but a swift kick from Beetlegeese proves that he would not find mercy here. Instead, there was only the deranged laughter of a madman. Black mist appears out of Beetlegeese's back and form into hands. For a moment, Subaru is in a state of shock, seeing the all too familiar hands. But this time it was different. Time wasn't frozen. He jumps out of the way while still holding on to Amelia. You saw the unseen hand just now? No, that's unacceptable. Beetlegeese begins to bite his fingers so hard that it breaks some of the bones, and blood gushes from them. More hands appear and reach for Subaru. While their strength is deadly, their speed is rather slow. The true power lies in the invisibility. Since Subaru can see them, he can avoid them. He dodges the hands as he gets closer to Beetlegeese and headbutts him. Subaru's forehead starts to bleed from ramming into Beetlegeese's teeth. Subaru is slowly coming to his senses. Even if he wants to die, there is one person he doesn't want to be killed by. There was some pleasure in seeing Beetlegeese suffer. Suddenly, a hand grabs Subaru's leg. He wasn't paying attention, and now it's too late. He gets lifted up and slammed into a tree. He feels his ribs break, but he still holds tightly to Amelia, ensuring that no more harm comes to her body. He falls to the ground, dropping Amelia. I am diligent, exhausting my efforts for love. What love, you moron? That so-called love you got. I can see it too. She's been cheating on you, sucker. What are you saying? Saying. My brain trembles. Though the half-demon who should have undergone the trial perished beforehand, those sheltering her yet remain. I shall eradicate those associated with the mansion and the residents of the village nearby. But first, Beetlegeese turns his attention to Amelia's corpse. You seem to clutch that half-demon's flesh as if it were quite precious to you. If I destroy it, I wonder what wonderful sounds I will hear if you make. The hands not holding Subaru turn to find their next victim. Subaru is powerless to stop them. No matter how much he begs, they will not stop. Suddenly, ice shards cut off the hand's advancement and completely surround Amelia's body. What are you doing to my daughter? Everyone looks up to see a small, floating cat. Puck. More ice shards surround him, prepared to be launched at any second. The air cracks as the temperature falls. Subaru recognizes this feeling. It's the same feeling as when Beatrice stole his mana, but it's being done on a large scale. Puck is sucking in the mana from the atmosphere. The witch cult. No matter how much time passes, you never change, do you? Ah, my poor Leah, you died without understanding anything. Do not think any of you will escape alive. How dare a mere spirit? How dare you speak? A half-demon failing an ordeal as nothing but a filthy pretender. The blame is yours for your sloth and inability to protect this fool. All that shall transpire, all that must transpire, the proper course of history is recorded in my gospel. A lot of this is cut from the anime, mostly for time. Probably. It doesn't really add a whole lot, but it is fun to see Subaru shit talk and finally get even a little bit of a win for this loop. We get confirmation that the gospel tells the future. Maybe. At the very least, it tells a future that Betelgeuse thinks is correct. Now, there are a few gospels in the world, and we get a little bit of information about them later, but we don't get a whole lot of information, so we don't know exactly to what extent they are correct and what all they can do. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Ice flies, impaling the witch cult members and freezing their remains. Subaru tries to warn Puck, but Puck tells him to be quiet. In the next instant, the unseen hand grabs Puck and crushes his tiny body. Betelgeuse celebrates. Carelessness. This is slothful. You should have killed me right away. Don't make me laugh. Puck breaks free as he grows in size. If you truly want to kill me, then grow 1,000 shadows. Half of what Satella could. So Satella can use an ability that is similar to Unseen Hand, but it's not the same ability. I have no idea how they're different, but apparently they are different. This is the ability that she currently uses to fuck with Subaru every now and then. Betelgeuse is currently using 7 unseen hands, which apparently Satella could use thousands, so the strength levels are just not close. Puck, now even taller than the trees, steps on the frozen witch cultist as he reveals his true form. The apocalypse beast of eternal frost. This was the same beast that killed him in the last loop. The ground, the trees, the air itself, everything was starting to freeze. Death is not punishment enough for you. That is why I hate your kind. The trial has been fulfilled. No matter what happens to this filthy body, so long as my feelings reach the witch I revere, she shall grant her favor. Ah, it will be so good to see her again. Betelgeuse laughs as he completely freezes. Puck uses his giant paw to demolish the ice statue and turns to Subaru. Let's talk, shall we? In the light novel, Puck sees that Subaru is bleeding out, so he heals him. Okay, that's not what happens at all. Puck freezes his wounds so that he won't bleed out while they're talking. And he is not nice about it at all. I'm pretty sure he just flash freezes the blood on his skin. And he's not doing it to help Subaru. He's doing it just so Subaru survives another couple of minutes while they talk. You have committed 3 sins. First, you broke your promise to Leah. You don't seem to understand how important a promise is to a spirit arts user. Second, you ignored Leah's wishes and returned here. And third, you let Leah die. In accordance with my contract, I will now destroy the world. Amelia is my entire reason for existing. There is no reason for me to exist in a world without her. I won't allow the world to move on. The fog is getting closer. You've attracted a troublesome being. Gluttony. Oh, I suppose they call it the white whale now. You called it here. Let Leah die, and now you die yourself. You really are useless. Subaru, almost completely frozen, hears a laugh. One that he's heard before from the man he hates the most. But that man is gone. That's when he realizes he is the one laughing. I've failed at everything. I am truly slothful. Subaru's body breaks. The third death. Okay, most of this is from the light novel. As I said, the anime probably just cut a lot of it for time. We can go over a few things from the light novel that I didn't include just yet. Puck actually mentions Reinhardt. He says that he wants to destroy the world, but Reinhardt will probably end up stopping him. So he's just going to do what he can. Reinhardt is the strongest being in the world, besides for Satella. That's another topic. So it's not really that surprising that Puck thinks he will lose to him. but it is surprising to see him actually acknowledge that. There is one other very important exchange that happens. Betelgeuse says, "A lowly spirit can't possibly possess this much power. If that were possible, I..." Yep, Betelgeuse is actually a spirit, and this will be very important for future events and will actually explain a lot. And he gets cut off here by Puck, who says one word: Echidna. Puck is an artificial spirit who was created by Echidna. She hasn't been introduced in the story just yet, but Betelgeuse calls her a fallen witch, a witch other than Satella. And she's going to be brought up more in the next arc, so I'm going to be sure to bring this back up because this will be very important for later. Speaking of things that will be covered in the next arc, Puck calls the white whale Gluttony. Now, the whale isn't a witch or an archbishop, obviously. The name Gluttony refers to its creator, the Witch of Gluttony, and we'll get into why she created the whale and the other beast in the next arc. Okay, I do have a theory as to why Subaru was laughing as he died, but it's a bit of a spoiler for next loop. So, you know what? I'm actually not going to go into it. I'll cover it next loop whenever it comes up. Just remember it, or more likely I'll remind you. Subaru has gone through a lot of shit. This arc has probably been the worst for him as far as accomplishment goes because he ended up killing Amelia. Well, he's partially to blame. I'm not going to put full blame on him. Subaru does, though, so that's kind of all that matters at the moment. This is probably the most productive loop as far as info goes. He's had a chance to learn about the candidates, about negotiations, about the whale, about the witch cultist. So much information that he could use for the next loop. And we'll see next time if he has picked up on any of it.